Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from home to well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. I'm entitled this one. The world is tired of the so-called white man ruling the earth. Not just the people that live on the earth, but the whole creation as a whole. The earth itself is crying out to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai of what the so-called white man, which is true biblical identity, is Esau, Edom, the evil twin brother of Jacob, that was prophesied to rule in the latter days of the planet Earth, which we're in now. That's why the earth is in complete distress, along with the life from the animals, sea life, the flocks of the air, and most importantly, the people up on the planet Earth. But really, the main ones who are crying out for a righteous rulership are going to be the elect of the nation of Israel, starting with the 144,000, and the rest of the elect, the large multitude. While you have a lot of people crying out, as well, because of this devil being in power, but their solution is a righteous Edomite, which that's never going to happen. A righteous so-called white person, because a lot of these people, they believe that Donald Trump was the solution, and he was gonna do away with the deep state. The DJ Trump Nero 47 was gonna take the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers down, and there was gonna be a righteous rulership being established upon the planet Earth, being ran by Esau. But that's not gonna happen, because ultimately Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, he was created to do pure wickedness. He wasn't created to be righteous. That's why this current rulership is never going to be ran in righteousness, because of who's in power, just the so-called white man. So ultimately, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai just has to bring this devil down and put the next superpower, which is going to be the nation of Israel, being ran by who everybody ignorantly calls Christ, which his real name is Yahushai, and King David, and the rest of the 144,000. That's the only solution for what is happening around the planet Earth. People getting laid off, people not being able to afford rent, groceries. You have famines. There shouldn't be no reason for a famine upon the planet Earth when you have all this land. Esau even telling you that the earth is overpopulated when you have all this land that's uninhabited, letting you know that ultimately this devil is not fit for rulership. So that's why Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is about to have to get him up out of here. This is Job chapter 9 and verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And that's how you know who is in complete rulership of the entire planet Earth. Those who have covered the faces of the judges, those who are proclaiming to be the true people of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, the true people of the scriptures. Letting you know who's actually in power. Especially with the tiny caps, the tiny hats over there in the land of Israel that are proclaiming to be the true people of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which we know they're not. That's the number one nation that you can't speak up against. Letting you know who's really in powership. That's why you have these red-blooded Edomites mad as all hell, because these tiny hats, the tiny tops, they took the blessing completely. They hoarded the blessing for themselves, and that's why they're complaining. They didn't get a piece of the pie. Some of them just got crumbs. But ultimately, we know that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is gonna have to get these devils out of here, because the earth is in distress as a whole. You have Edomites, crying out because Esau, Edom's in rulership, letting you know that here you're in your own kingdom, but yeah, you're suffering. This is Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set it up over the basis of all men. And who's the basis of all men? The so-called white man, Esau, Edom. Because before this devil came back in rulership, after being freed from that prison, from the Caucasus Mountains, being allowed to roam freely around the earth and mess everything up, pollute the air, pollute the water, he was in that cave-like beast state, because that's his natural state, being a caveman, not having his own language, just huffing and puffing because he doesn't have a language. That's Esau, Edom. But Yahweh Bashim Shai is showing his power by allowing this devil, to get in the suit and tie, to clean shave, to be all these high executives of these 500 Forbes companies and Donald Trump and all these Edomites that are in rulership position. So ultimately, Yahweh Bashim Shai could be exalted, because once he brings them down, that's going to show how powerful Yahweh Bashim Shai really is, because the whole world is just blinded, thinking that Esau, Edom, got in that rulership position by himself. But no, ultimately, Yahweh Bashim Shai, the Heavenly Father, allowed him to get in that position. But it's not forever. It's not for eternity. And that's why he's about to be brought down. Because it's to the point where if he was to let this devil to continue to rule, he would just do away with life. He would do away with himself, by pushing all this AI and all this technology. It says Proverbs 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And right now, the people are mourning because the wicked are in rulership. The so-called white man's in power. Esau, Edom, the tiny caps. Those who are proclaimed to be the true Israelites, which we know they're not. But that's why the entire earth is mourning, because it's being ran in wickedness. It's not being ran with the laws, statutes, commandments at the forefront. Being pushed out. Being the standard for how the earth is being ran. Instead, there's no land Sabbath. People are constantly taxed to death, having to breathe in all these chemtrails and drinking polluted water and all manners of madness that we have to live in because of the devil, because he don't know how to rule. He takes all the foods and turns them into GMO. He feeds the people McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and Popeyes and churches, letting you know ultimately that this devil is not fit for rulership. That Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to have to bring him down and establish the nation of Israel next. This is Romans chapter 8 and verse 22. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. So the entire earth is crying out. From the earth itself to the sea life to the animals. But the ones who are in that correct spirit are going to be the elect, because only the elect are going to cry out for the righteous rulership of Yahweh Bashim Shai, the kingdom of heaven. While the rest of our people, the 2/3, they're feeling the squeeze, they're crying out, but they just want Babylon, the great America, to be healed. And then these Edomites, they just want a righteous Edomite to become president and make America great again and put Jake back in slaying, that shadow slavery. Get that spirit of Edomite supremacy back up on the planet Earth. That's what these Edomites want, but that's not going to happen. Yahweh Bashim Shai is about to bring this devil down from his high, lofty position that he's been in for so long, thinking that he's never going to be brought down. But that's ultimately going to exalt Yahweh Bashim Shai's power throughout the earth, because it's going to show, like, okay, damn. devil was in rulership for so long, and then all of a sudden he just got brought down like that. Ultimately, the world is going to know that it was a higher power that allowed him to rule upon the planet Earth than for him to be brought down like that. Because you look how powerful, the American military is. You see all the rich banking families. You can't be touched. But now it's to the point where Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is about to start judging, these wicked ass Edomites. This is Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 1. And it reads, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordained. And that's what the nation of Israel is going to do. They're going to have wise judges, starting with Yahweh Shai, King David, and the rest of the 144,000, the governing body. And ultimately, we won't have to construct Israel no more, because Israel as a whole is going to have the new bodies. They're going to have the law, statutes, commandments written in their inward parts. But, we're going to be teaching the heathen nations. We're going to be telling them, okay, this is how you're supposed to do things. This is what you're supposed to do, and this is what you're supposed not to do. And Esau, Edom don't do that. He does the complete opposite. He tells the people upon the planet Earth, he tells them what to do. And ultimately what to do is going the hell off, and then he tells you don't do this, and ultimately that's the correct thing to do. But that's because this devil runs everything backwards. Verse 2, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. So that's why majority of the world is under that vibration of Esau, Edom. They're under the vibration of Satan. In that spirit of instant gratification. I want it now. I can't wait. Because that's how Esau, Edom was. Because he didn't eat for a couple hours, and he fasted all day. He couldn't wait to eat, so he sold his birthright for a morsel of meat. And that's the same spirit that these people are in, because when they get all the comforts get taken away, their 9 to 5s, all the bread and circus, they're going to be crying out. They're going to be like, I want it back. And Esau, Edom, he's going to offer it to them back. But, they're going to have to take that micro chip, that MOTB, to be able to have those dainties and comforts that they've gotten so used to being under Esau, Edom. That overindulgent and wild consumer spirit that these people are so used to being in. Verse 3, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority the city shall be inhabited. Verse 4, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable, and that's going to be the nation of Israel. Yasharallah. Ruling the kingdom of heaven is going to be established here upon the planet Earth, where the whole earth is going to benefit. Not just the nation of Israel, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but also these heathen nations. These heathen nations, they're going to appreciate, they're going to be thankful for Israel being in power. Because right now, these heathens, they're not thankful because Esau, Edom's in rulership. It's the complete opposite. They hate this devil. They hate this man. I'm going to jump down to verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And that's why he's going to have to be brought down. Because this whole kingdom is established off the bloodshedding of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the Israelites. Robbing and pillaging, raping, going around throughout the four corners of the earth and taking the resources of all these different nations. And if they don't get down, then he puts that sword to them, letting you know that all these riches that this devil has gotten, all these lands, it was by ill-gotten means. And that's why Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is about to take that all that away. He's about to have him cough it up, and it's going to get translated to the nation of Israel. But that's pretty much the point. I pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory just due to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of the great millstone, who all in this truth from who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144.